Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another Kerfuffle showcase. I am delighted here to have Ben Davis today. Hi, Ben from PropertyHeads. How are you doing?
Hi, Simon. Very good, thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Having you back on, of course, because you are obviously you have honoured us with your presence again here before. But we're very keen to get you back on and understand a little bit more about PropertyHeads in detail. So that's what today's all about. And in fact, the title today is PropertyHeads, the UK's fastest growing property community, giving agents unfettered access to local home movers to grow their whole business. So that's a nice mouthful there. You're going to have to then break all that down for me because, you know, my attention span and attention to detail is no good. But we'll get that out over the course of this interview. Do you want to just give us an overview then, Ben? Just, you know, what is PropertyHeads to people that don't know about you at the moment?
Sure. Okay. So first of all, Simon, it's great to be on and great to have you all to myself this time around.
Not many people say that.
So PropertyHeads, it's effectively it's a social network dedicated to property. Okay. So imagine Facebook had been built for estate agents. That's what we're trying to achieve with PropertyHeads. We have an integrated property portal, but it's the portal is it's a fairly big part of what we do, but we're trying to do a lot of stuff around that as well. So the idea of property social network is the consumer, anybody in the UK can come onto PropertyHeads and they can solve all of their property related issues in one place. That's not saying PropertyHeads is trying to do everything and take everyone's business. It's actually the opposite. What we're doing is we're putting the consumer in touch with the right local expert. So that can be an agent, but equally it can be a local builder or an electrician. It's really down to everything we do for the consumer is built around their wants and needs. Everything is tailored to them. So we show them, for example, properties we suggest to them. We show them hyper-local planning applications and approvals that might affect them. We give them local property market commentaries. So I think that's an important point to note as well. We know the names and addresses of all our users. All our users have a profile, they have a timeline on the site like they would on Facebook. So we want to make that information available to agents.
So these are anonymized, anonymized people. You've got a really good understanding of who they are. And where did the idea come from, Ben? What was it that you saw that was the current landscape wasn't delivering for agents at the moment?
So we actually had the idea for PropertyHeads. It came up about 6 years ago. We registered the name 6 years ago. But the technology and indeed the capital on our side wasn't available at that time to build the platform we had imagined. So we saw that, first of all, there was no single place anywhere on the internet where people could go and they could solve all of their property issues in one place. So we looked and tried to work out what we could do to help people in that regard. That led us to obviously looking at property portals. And we thought they did a great job of supplying buyer and tenant leads to agents. But probably what they didn't do so well is help them nurture vendor and landlord leads. And we decided that in order to do that, I mean, nobody's going to select an agent to sell their biggest asset on the click of a button on a portal. There's some nurturing to be done. So we decided you needed a social platform for that. And as we sort of looked further into it, we realized integrating a social network on a portal had a lot of other benefits as well, both to the consumer and the agent. Sorry. So on the consumer side, what it means is the man on the street, instead of just seeing a wall full of property details, they can now click into a property on PropertyHeads. They can often see a review of that property by the owner, which brings a lot more sort of color to the individual property page. They can also share the property on the platform with the people that are relevant. So if you want to share it with your other half, if you want to share it with your builder, If you want to share it with your mortgage broker, you can do all that without leaving PropertyHeads.
So you're tapping into one of the main elements of social, that ability to share this stuff around your circles of engagement, basically.
Absolutely, and that feeds back to benefits for the agent as well. So obviously, if you've just got your properties on a portal and people are coming, they're having a look, that's great. But if you can get those properties shared to a wider audience, that can only be a benefit, and only if you sell or let the property quicker and at a better price.
My perception has always been, Ben, is that the people who look on social media are a very different audience largely to those searching on the portal per se. I think there's a lot of duplication, isn't there? Would it be fair to say that, a lot of people looking on ZBC or Rightmove or on the market, largely speaking, they're bouncing from one to another. I know they try to talk about the difference of audience, but there's no way that it's as big as the difference between social and the portals, is it?
Yeah, no, so I think the portals do have massive overlap in their audience, of course. I think portals obviously talk a lot, or the established portals talk a lot about how much traffic they get, but a lot of the agents we've spoken to recognize that a lot of that traffic is just people coming to have a nose at their neighbor's house, or looking at, property porn that they can't ever hope to buy. So what we do is we try and separate that traffic from the real valuable traffic that agents want. So all users on PropertyHeads, one of the things we give them on their feed, so they all have a feed like they do on Facebook. We give them their daily dose of property porn. So they don't even have to go looking for it. We'll just put it in their lap. What we also try to do is on the social media side of things, again, there's a big audience there, but by having a social network dedicated to property, what we hope to achieve is to have a social audience that are already warmed up for the agent. They're on PropertyHeads to talk about property, so they're more receptive to what the agent's got to say. And because of that, because we value the agent's content, because our users value the agent's content, we will give agents 100% organic reach to their audience, which is really, really valuable. So if you're an agent, you go on Facebook, you post about, I don't know, some early bird property. Without boosting that post, maybe 1 or 2% of your connections get to see it. On PropertyHeads, we'll put it on the feed of every single one of your connections. There's also the argument that because they're there to talk about property, they're much more likely to then share that with their friends on PropertyHeads than they would on a generic social network.
So that's really, I mean, that's it, because that is a big issue, isn't it, with social, and certainly Facebook, is that people estimate when they share things on Facebook that everyone gets to see it, but of course it's a relatively small demographic, isn't it? So the way you set that up, you are able to ensure, is that because it's almost guaranteeing that they're all getting to see that?
So just to be clear, we give agents 100% organic reach to their network. It's not to the 700,000 users we currently have. So there is an element of the more the agent puts, it's the same with any social network. The more the agent puts in, the higher return they're going to get. If they come onto PropertyHeads and actively build their network, they become more visible on the site. The more visible they become, obviously, the more engagement they get, the more leads they generate. But we are a property portal at the same time. If the agent just wants to list their properties, respond to incoming inquiries, then they can do that for free. So
let me just ask you, why bolt a portal onto a social network? What was it? Did you just feel like it was a natural evolution of what people wanted?
Yeah, so I mean, some of my own frustrations of using traditional portals is that the listings can be a bit, they lack engagement. They're all a bit samey. So we wanted to introduce some more colour to those, and we thought the way to do that, and at the same time be really useful and informative, was to get the owners on board and get them commenting on their own properties. So to do that, you need a reason to bring them to the platform. They're not going to go to a portal, log in, write a review just for the sake of it. So we needed much more content around the property listings to pull those owners onto the platform. I found that, and it's well documented, I think, in estate agency circles, that the number of responses people get when they make an inquiry about a property through a traditional portal is quite low. Agents, I think, are really busy, obviously, but also sometimes those leads, they're of questionable value. So the agent won't always respond, and they won't always respond in a timely manner. What we wanted was a way for agents and consumers to be able to recognize or demonstrate that they are a good lead. That's why all of our users, they'll all have timelines and profiles on PropertyHeads, which is a great benefit to the consumer, because if they're a serious buyer or tenant, they can show that. And they'll get, we hope, much more timely responses from agents as a result.
Excellent. And what benefits does it hold overall for the agents themselves, above the ones you obviously mentioned?
So, I mean, the obvious one is the more data that come with the leads, and I guess the fact that we're free. But I think much more significantly is the fact that we give people, and this is the mouthful of a title to this whole sort of chat, unfettered access to local home movers. We're not putting our members behind a form and just giving agents a phone number and an email. We're saying, look, here's the guy's profile. This is what we know about him. These are all the posts he's made on PropertyHeads. You can see he's serious about moving. He's talking about it with his friends. He's engaged with this builder.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is key. So it's the ability to really engage with and influence our audience in a way that I don't think is currently available to agents. So yes, they can try and do that on Facebook, but the reality is people are on Facebook for other reasons. And if you do want to understand more about their property interests, you've got to wade through all their other content to find those nuggets of information.
Yeah.
Whereas we present it all to them up front.
Excellent.
Oh, so sorry, Simon, just to complete on that point. So, you know, what are agents doing with these leads from either Facebook or from traditional portals? They're putting them into some kind of CRM, some kind of email list, which I think has a lot of restrictions, especially in a sort of GDPR world. You can't email your entire database about the fact that you can now help them out with mortgages, because you'd fall foul of GDPR rules. But on a social network like PropertyHeads, you can do that, because those people in your network have signed up to our terms and conditions, which say they want to get all the content from their connections, including agents.
Understand. So it's explicit. They've consented. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they can turn you off if you keep boring them with mortgage stuff, but until they block you, yeah, you're free to give them the content.
You just highlighted leads there, and of course, you know, some of the main portals get a little bit sort of targeted by agents. Look, stop telling us how many leads you're sending us, because actually it's all about the quality of the leads that matters. Are you able to, I mean, it sounds like they have to be better leads because you're giving them more background, but are you able to quantify that at all at the moment, or is it literally just the feedback the agents are giving you that they are easier to convert?
So we're really just at the beginning of engaging with our members on the platform. So when people sign up to PropertyHeads, they have to give us their full address and their full name.
Yeah.
But during the sign-up process, we encourage them to tell us about their property interests, whether, you know, they're interested in architecture or property investment. We ask them, you know, do you want to connect? Do you want to bring any of your friends on the platform? So we can start seeing sort of what kind of social circle they have. We actually ask all of our members when they sign up, would you like to connect with local agents in your area? So what I said earlier about agents can just sit back and just use it as a property portal. Even if they do that, their network will still start to grow slowly, because we are actively trying to encourage engagement between agents and local home movers. In terms of, can I quantify the quality of our leads? Not really. I can give you an example of something we've done just yesterday. We put just a silly question on the feeds of all our individual members. It was just literally 4 photos of 4 different types of kitchen, and just said, click here, tell us which one you prefer, to see the results of what our community are thinking. The level of engagement was ridiculously high, because people are there, they're there to talk about property, they see some nice pictures and they click. So what that means is we now know for a large number of our users whether they prefer a modern style kitchen or a traditional style kitchen. I can't remember the other types we had there. But that data is really valuable. What that means is, if you as an agent, if you have a house, it might be a bit, it might have a fantastic traditional kitchen as its main selling point. At some point in the future, we're going to be able to put that house in front of the people that have told us they like traditional kitchens. It's a small point, we're doing a lot more stuff, but it's really something we can do.
That really is powerful. I'm guessing though, by the nature of the platform as well, not just in terms of the qualitative end of it, but you're going to a large degree get rid of the tire kickers, aren't you? Because they aren't able to hide behind, anonymous names, emails, and everything else there. Look, they could inquire and it not be, again, they've just got taken in by property porn, but it's far less likely, isn't it?
We believe so, yeah. I mean, I can't point to any statistics today that says, yeah, we've got rid of the tire kickers, all our leads are 100%.
Just let me make them up. I'll make them up for you. Don't worry about it.
Fantastic. Yeah, no, it's true to say though that people, I think, in the same way they see LinkedIn as an opportunity to showcase why they should get a job or why they should be taken seriously in their career, we think and hope that people will see PropertyHeads as, they'll portray themselves as they want to be seen in the property world. So if they want to get those responses from agents, they need to be responsible in how they use the platform. It's the same even with like builders, electricians, all trades are super busy at the moment. If you want to get a good tradesman in to do some work, I think you need to present yourself in the best way possible, and that's what we're seeing. We haven't had so far, I mean, after this call we might get a couple, we haven't had anyone sort of posting silly pictures up on their profile, nothing at all like that. It's all been sort of really professional stuff.
Makes sense. And just so I'm clear, you're entirely free at the moment to agents as well?
Yeah. So what we've said is we're free for agents to list an unlimited number of properties. Yeah. Free to respond to any inquiries they get through PropertyHeads, and it's a free to use social network, and all those things will remain free forever.
Okay, that's a good commitment. Yeah. So, well, my obvious question would be to follow up with it. Come on, where's the commercial model?
Yeah. So we actually, even though we're not taking a penny from any agents today, we think we're going to be profitable by the end of the year, which I think is really sets us out from a lot of other challenger portals.
Yeah.
So there's 5 ways we make money. The main one being what I call the Facebook model. So we've talked a little bit about everybody on PropertyHeads having a feed. We can target people through on-feed advertising and retargeted advertising in exactly the same way Facebook does. So somebody like B&Q or AO.com or Dulux, they could be an important advertising client for us.
Okay, yeah.
We do sell aggregated, anonymized data about our individual users. Well, that's going to be a revenue stream. We haven't actually done any of that yet. The other 3 revenue streams are product partnerships. So in theory, we could partner up with a mortgage broker, try and sell these people mortgages. The reality is, we think product partnerships will be about 6% of our overall revenues, and it's not something we're actively promoting. We have, or we will have, paid for subscriptions for trades, so i.e. more job leads for plumbers and builders and things like that.
Yeah.
And there will be, this is hopefully the more interesting bit for agents, there will be paid for subscriptions to agents. But that doesn't mean they won't be able to still list their properties for free, respond to inquiries for free, and use the social network for free. The paid subscriptions offer services over and above that.
Yeah, and that's entirely standard, isn't it, Ben? You've made the commitment, as many do. There's that, look, not every business even has a freemium element to it, but you've given that commitment there, so it's entirely right that if you're going to be doing more proactive stuff, there should be there. So just talk us through those different subscriptions there. Is that the gold and platinum we discussed? Yeah,
so at the moment we've called them gold and platinum. The reality is a lot of the workings of the products haven't actually been built yet, so this is something that will probably come in towards the middle of next year.
Yeah.
We're not pushing it at all, but we have had our agents ask us about it. So we have about 150 pre-orders, mostly for the gold, actually, rather than the platinum. And the idea of this product or products when they're built is that we will give agents even more exposure on the social network. We'll give their content more exposure to what we believe are the right people. We'll give them priority for vendor and landlord leads. And remember, we're already providing what we think is a really good platform to nurture those kind of leads anyway. And agents are more than welcome to use the platform to nurture landlords and vendors. But where people come directly to us and say, okay, we're looking to sell, can you show us an agent? The paid subscribers will get priority on that. And going back to the point I had about the kitchens, we think over time we're going to have some really great data on our individual members, and we can use that to put the right properties in front of the right people at the right time. That's something we don't think agents can really get anywhere else at the moment. So it's only right, we feel, that we charge a little bit for that.
Yeah, I can understand that. And just on that point, though, about if you're giving priority, does that mean that you'll ultimately end up with kind of postcode exclusivity for some of these services?
No, I don't think so. So the overriding sort of thing we're trying to achieve with PropertyHeads is to be that one-stop shop where the consumer can answer all of their property-related issues through putting them in touch with the right people or businesses. So the way it works currently is if somebody come on and they search for, I'm in Southend in Essex today. If somebody come onto PropertyHeads and search for an agent in Southend in Essex, we have, I'm going to say an algorithm. It sounds smart, but it's really not that complicated. PropertyHeads will go and it will look to that person. It will look at who their connections are, and it will return the agent that it believes is best connected to that person already. So what that means is straight away, that person can see, oh, okay, agent X, I can see that my friend Dave, my friend Kevin has already used them. Yeah. Actually, none of them have written a review for this agent on PropertyHeads, but I can see these other reviews for this agent, and they seem fairly positive. Flipping that over, what it means for the agent is more leads through word of mouth online. If you've done a great job for selling Mrs. Jones' house in the past, and then her friend comes onto PropertyHeads and looks for an agent, we'll automatically show them your agency and not the one paying us the most money, not the one closest to that person. So it's all about using people's networks to put them in touch with the right business and vice versa.
And I am stealing this as a quote. You have essentially weaponized that Kevin Bacon effect, haven't you? The connections between people, really cleverly though, isn't it? It's just by looking at who they actually know, even before they might have done formal reviews. You're doing something that no portal can ever do by definition.
Exactly, and I think the Kevin Bacon thing you refer to is something about the 6 degrees of separation. But I think the reality is property markets tend to be local. And actually, as an agent, you're probably only ever 2 or 3 connections away from, you know, anybody potentially looking to come to market, but you don't know that currently.
That totally scuppered that Kevin Bacon analogy, but thank you for not making me look stupid. But anyway, okay, yeah, but I think it's really, really powerful. I think that's going to be a fascinating angle to see if that delivers on. I mean, down the line, when you've got those metrics, you're going to be able to report on whether that is actually working and delivering, isn't it?
That's right. Yeah, I mean, we're starting to see it working already. I mean, we had an agent from North London join us this week, and he was, you know, he picked up the phone to me straight away after joining. And said, I didn't realise there were already 80 people in my postcode on the platform, and all I need to do is go into my local group, post something, and that's 80 people I wouldn't have had access to otherwise.
Yeah, and how would an agent help us kind of maximise, encourage that? Do they have to get asked all of their clients to opt into PropertyHeads? What's the best way of promoting this to get the community working? I suppose any community grows by the amount of people who join it, don't they?
Yeah, that's right. So like I said, we're trying to make it as easy as possible for agents. We know they're busy. We know they get bombarded with a load of prop tech all the time, and you know, hopefully, you know, guys like yourselves can help them, you know, find the best products. We are putting our users in touch with local agents without the agent needing to do anything. But the more the agent can invite users onto the platform. If you invite someone through PropertyHeads, we'll automatically connect you at the same time. The more visible you become on the platform. So if you invite 100 of your past clients onto the platform, and then say they've got 5 contacts each, that's 500 people in your local area. If they search for an agent, you're likely to come out top of the list.
Yeah.
Over and above having a connect, I don't want to go too far into it, but over and above having a connection, if one of your connections writes you a review, that's even more powerful. That gets you even higher up the list of agents. So invite your clients onto PropertyHeads, get them to review your business. And there's a whole thing we've done about reinventing the review process that I'll bore you with another time. But what it basically means is you won't be disadvantaged through some sort of rounding error. If you've got 100 reviews and you've got an average rating of 4.86, and another agent has got 2 reviews and an average rating of 4.87, it doesn't matter. We will show your agency to the people most connected to you. Okay.
Okay, and we're talking about this community. What's the size of the community at the moment?
So we were at about 30,000 until just last week. We made an acquisition that gives us. So it's been in the estate agent trade press. We acquired a company called Our Property. They had 700,000 members, active members, that used that service to look at sold prices. So it's a really good database of people. Tend to be a little bit older. Quite a lot of property investors in there, quite a lot of owners of multiple properties. So over time, we will be onboarding those people to PropertyHeads, and that will give us 750,000 people on the platform. So we have permission, by the way, to create profiles for them on PropertyHeads already. We've got permission to market properties and property services to them. We know who they are, we know their address. We actually know what property markets they've shown an interest in the past as well. So
that's
we'll
really
be
strategic play. That really interesting strategic, So and where do you see that community? If everything went to plan in 3 years' time, what would that community look like to you?
In terms of size?
Yeah.
Well, so I know a lot of portals like to talk about the number of agents they have on board. For us, the better measure is the level of engagement.
Yeah. You're getting all scientific again now, aren't you? I always get called.
I'm not going to do that to you. I'm not going to do that. So basically, we've got 750,000 people coming onto the platform. The first thing we need to do is make it as engaging for them as possible. So that means putting great content on their feed. That means making, as many properties available as possible for them to look at. And after that, then obviously, we want to grow the community on both sides as well, so on the agent side and on the consumer side. I think LinkedIn is at 20 million people in the UK, I think. There's like 28 million households in the UK.
You're catching them up quick.
We're completely free to the consumer, right? So we would like to get to 2 million, and then, obviously go from there.
Well, really interesting to see how that develops. And talk us through how some of the agents are, because I'm guessing agents will use Property Heads in different ways. Talk us through how some of the agents are using it at the moment.
Yeah. So first of all, a little qualifier. We haven't probably been in front of agents as much as we would have liked. That's really because we've been building the product. So I did try to sort of get out there and say to agents 2 years ago, this is what we're building, this is why it's going to be great for you. But they was like, yeah, you're building it, let us know when it's done, let us know when you've got 1 million people on the platform.
They've heard it too often, haven't they? It's like, come back to me when it's done. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we're gonna try and be out there more now, engaging with agents. So the agents that have come on, they really come on the understanding of, list your properties and we'll come back to you when it's getting interesting. So this is the process we're going through now. So agents had been sitting back, they've been getting inquiries about the properties, but it's only really now that the engagement's starting to come through. So my common type of post we have from estate agents posting on the social network is early bird properties, which is great, because what that does, you can just look at on the market, and their whole advertising budget has gone on. Yeah. We get properties 24 hours before anyone else.
Yeah.
We don't want your properties before anyone else. We think agents, you give your properties to who you want, when you want. That's not our business. However, already on social networks, be it Facebook, Twitter, or Property Heads, the most common type of post estate agents make is early bird properties. These are genuine pre-market opportunities. So that's the most common type of post we see on Property Heads, and that helps agents grow their network, because that's what buyers and that's what tenants want to see.
Yeah.
We have one agent that is actually one landlord. So only agents can post properties on Property Heads, but this one agent invited quite a large landlord, is up in North Essex, onto the platform. He loved it. He immediately invited all of his tenants to connect with him. Every single time he has a property listed, he shares the agent's property. All his existing tenants see it, and he tells me he gets the phone ringing off the hook. They've all got a friend that wants to move into one of his properties because he's such a good landlord. But we're keeping the agent at the centre of that. Agents are at the centre of everything we do. Landlords can't list properties, individuals can't list properties.
That's a massively important point, isn't it? You're not, this isn't some disruptive model looking to, again, come from an angle of getting agents out the equation. You fundamentally see agents as being a really healthy part of the whole model, don't you?
Absolutely. I think, people in the UK, I don't want to quote the number because I'm sure other people know it better than me, but let's say they move once every 10 to 20 years, homeowners at least. Yeah. I think agent fees, again, it's another whole new conversation to have, but it's a small price to pay to have someone, walk you through what can be the most important transaction of your life. So yeah, I think the agent's definitely here to stay. And the whole sort of ethos of our platform is to connect agents and consumers, make the right connections in the first place. And then, another thing that's talked about a lot is how a lot of times agents the first agent that gets hired doesn't sell. It's normally the second agent, or it's often the second agent. We would hope that we do our small piece in contributing to that changing, and the first agent being the right one more often.
Yeah, that's improving the market overall. Ben, it strikes me that obviously, like, all agents should be talking to you and understanding if this will work. Obviously, there are a number of agents, probably still, I think, a minority that are, dabbling or doing well on Facebook at the moment. But the ones that it's an absolute no-brainer who should be signing up with you straight away are those that know they should be doing something on social but haven't had the time to get around to it at the moment. Is it that you're just solving that solution for them almost overnight, aren't you?
I mean, yeah, I would say all agents should be talking to us.
I wasn't going to get rid of any part of your market, by the way, there, but I was just saying those in particular were really should be talking to you.
Yeah, I think so. I think Facebook scares a proportion of the agent community, and it is a complex, unwieldy platform, and that's because it's trying to do so many things for so many people. Our focus on property means that our audience is already warm to agents' content. And the fact that we give agents 100% organic, I think what agents are scared about with Facebook is pouring money down the drain on Facebook ads that don't work. Well, PropertyHeads gives you 100% organic reach. Try all the different types of content you want, see what level of engagement you get, and it won't cost you a penny.
Yeah, that's about the safest bet you can have, isn't it, really, in this day and age? And absolutely fantastically, we've actually had somebody, hello, Michelle, she's Michelle Killoran, just registered, will advise local agents. There you are. So you've got your first one there. Thanks, Michelle. Thanks for tuning in.
That's great. And just on the power of social media, I recognise Michelle's face from LinkedIn. So never spoken to her before. Hi, Michelle. It just shows you the power of social media.
Power of social. If there were any unbelievers out there, they've been banished from our show. And Ben, give us an idea. I mean, what are your plans for the coming months, and how much do your plans? I suppose they have to revolve around what those platforms are doing. Is there any chance that they go down a particular route that doesn't tie in with you, or are you fairly comfortable that actually there's the stability there from these obviously behemoths like Facebook that gives you the platform for growth over the coming years?
Yeah, so we try not to concern ourselves too much with what other people are doing. I think that Facebook obviously are a fantastic company, and I think you'd be crazy to try and compete with them sort of head on. But I think our focus on property, just relative to Facebook and the other generic social networks, gives us a lot of advantages. It gives us that warmed up audience. It also means we can develop tools specifically catering to the property market. So something that we've got that I've not really spoken about yet is it's called deal groups. It's just like a Facebook group, except it's a private group. It can only be formed by an agent. Agent invites in everybody relevant to the transaction, so buyer, seller, conveyancers, possibly mortgage broker. Inside that group, you have a checklist of all the things that need to happen before the deal completes. You have a 24/7 chat wall, and you have a secure document depository. So the idea is it just brings, I mean, other companies are doing this, but it just brings all the elements you need for that sales progression into one place. And the reason it makes sense for us to do that is because we should already have all those people on our platform. The buyer and seller should already be registered at PropertyHeads, as should the mortgage brokers, as should the agent. So yeah, that's just one example versus the generic social networks. And then when it comes to the other portals, I think there's this belief in estate agency that you're always going to have one dominant portal, and historically that's always been Rightmove.
Yeah,
I don't think that's the case going forwards. I think if you have a portal market where agents pay a monthly subscription, then absolutely there needs to be one winner, because agents can't all pay 3, 4, 10, 20 portals. But if we're moving to a world, and I believe we are, where portals have a kind of freemium model, why can't agents be on all the portals? And And yeah, we actively encourage that. When an agent, when we speak to an agent and they say, oh, well, there's this other portal we're thinking of going on, this other one, we say, are they free? They say yes. I say, well, go on them as well. Fantastic. Yeah. The consumer, the individual consumer, he doesn't need one portal. He needs a choice. So for the individual consumer that wants to create a network around his property decisions, wants that support, but doesn't want PropertyHeads holding his hand and selling him every single service, we're probably the right platform for that consumer. For another consumer that just wants data, or another one that wants their hand held through the whole process, and wants to buy every product off the same platform, we're probably not the portal for them. But that doesn't mean 3, 5, 20 portals can't all exist in the same place, as long as they're all making money in different ways.
I think that was a fascinating result of that, the one you were previously on, wasn't it? The portal challengers there, and there was a strange camaraderie between the other. On the face of it, you should ostensibly be rivals, but you'd moved past that, hadn't you? Because I think you had got to this understanding that that famous Jurassic Park line, "Life will find a way." The challenge, the almost unchallengeable position of Rightmove has forced a really innovative, as you've spoken about it, freemium model network to spring up. And I think that is going to be fascinating to see over the next few years, to see whether that, whether there is the space to be able to grow and thrive in the world we live in at the moment. And on the face of it, it doesn't look like there should be any reason not to be, should there, as long as you're serving particular niches requirements.
I mean, that's how firmly held belief. I can't see any reason why. I mean, you called them challenger portals, but let's call them, some of the newer portals can't sit side by side with some of the more established portals in the future.
Yeah. Do you have any are you talking to others about partnerships? Are there suppliers that you can see a natural fit with, or are you just keeping your head down at the moment and concentrating on your own thing?
We're talking to lots and lots of people, especially after the press we had this week about the acquisition.
I bet.
It's been really exciting, actually, some of the conversations that have come off the back of that. I think that, first of all, we are talking to most of the other challenger portals that were on the call with you those couple of months ago, having constructive conversations with them. I think it's difficult sometimes to know how we would collaborate. I don't think we should necessarily look to share listings. I think that should be driven by the agent. But like I say, if we can just all help and support each other, if when we speak to an agent, and they say, well, I'm already on Portal X, I don't know if I want another one, we just encourage that. As a group, we all encourage agents to join.
Ben, it's just as important, isn't it, to just not be really, really petty against each other. There's nothing that makes you look bad than just saying, "Oh God, don't go with those guys." Anything else there? Yeah. The way you've been collaborative and supportive, and just said, "Look, some won't be right for us. They might be, whether that's a One Dome, a Home Search, or any of the different ones out there." I think that's a far better grown-up way of dealing with. And actually, isn't it ironic that the biggest portals are the ones that sometimes act the most negatively towards each other? They really do sort of take pot shots, don't they?
Yeah, I think that comes a bit down to business models again, though, because we're not competing really for agent spend. For the moment, and always, if the agent decides that, we're going to be free for agents.
Yeah.
So there isn't that same incentive to say we're better than everyone else. And also, when you think about sort of the whole sort of ethos behind our platform, it's about connecting the right people together. So we need to be seen to be doing that in the way we conduct business as well. We're saying collaborate with people on our platform, and then we're not collaborating ourselves.
No,
it wouldn't really speak true.
Now's the time normally, Ben, when I obviously I talk about the fantastic deal that people like yourself have been kind enough to offer, and I was trying to think how do you do something extra over free, but you pulled it out of the bag, haven't you? Because as you mentioned before, although you haven't rolled them out yet, you are actually encouraging people if they want to pre-register for those different subscription models, the gold and the platinum ones there, and I believe. Am I okay to say you're willing to give Kerfuffle members a 20% discount on either of those two if they pre-register?
That's right. So middle of next year, we should have gold and platinum packages available for agents, priced at £49 and £249 a month. Yeah. Kerfuffle members, if they pre-order, which basically means tell us you're interested, reserve your spot. You can cancel if when we've built the product you decide you don't like it. If you pre-order, along with about another 150 agents we already have pre-ordered, we'll give you a 20% discount, so £39 or £199 a month.
Well, thank you very much for thinking us, and obviously, Michelle, make sure you claim that when you talk to Ben later down as well. But yeah, why would you not take advantage of that? As you said, no risk. If you don't like what you see at the end of it, in the unlikely event you don't like it, you can stop that. So here, somebody helpful in my team has actually just put that up on there as well. So that's absolutely fantastic, Ben. Thank you very much for spending your time today. Great to have you on again. Obviously, please keep us up to date. We'd be fascinated to see it and hear how that develops. Obviously, because you are in a fairly unique niche, so it'd be great to get feedback from you over the coming months.
Yep, definitely, Simon. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Have a great week. Cheerio.